As we speak, House Democrats have just concluded a strategy meeting on Capitol Hill about the government shutdown. House Republicans, on the other hand, they continue to stay home. And Speaker Mike Johnson is telling reporters to prepare for a lengthy shutdown, refusing to entertain the idea of negotiating with Democrats. But it does appear that some in the party are ready to break from that plan. New reporting from MSNBC details that House Republicans are indeed talking with the White House about a possible extension of Affordable Care Act tax credits, the main sticking point for Democrats in the shutdown. We should note those conversations are still in the early stages, and apparently without the Speaker of the House, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us now is Democratic Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager-Dove of California. She serves on the House Judiciary Committee and was in tonight's meeting. Whew.
Congresswoman?
Well, tell us, how was it? Give us the tea.
We have the tea. Well, first of all, we do have to pour one out for the homie D'Angelo for passing. Okay.
If you want pancreatic cancer, go get your checks.
Same as John Lewis. Boisterous meeting tonight. Democrats showed up, quiet in the halls getting there because Republicans are still at home. And we learned a couple of things. We learned that voters want us to continue fighting. They are learning more and more about the ACA, and the more they learn, the more they support it. And polls are coming out that are putting all of the blame on Republicans for this unnecessary shutdown. So we have been saying we want to open the government. It must be done through a bipartisan path, and we are going to continue to draw the line when it comes to health care and fight the fight, because we know that this health care crisis is too expensive for the American people.
Is there any appetite for either leader, Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries, for an extension for the ACA? How do they see that conversation of having it with the White House, not the Speaker of the House, which I think is
Who is the Speaker? Right.
Well, you wouldn't expect him to have the conversation with the Speaker, because the Speaker's waiting for Donald Trump to tell him what to do. So why waste your time talking to the Speaker? They're in the right place, talking to the president, who will then let him know we got the deal.
So Jeffries talked about the first and only meeting they had at the White House, and when they talked about the health care crisis, how it seemed as if the president was learning this information for the very first time, and how Thune and Johnson didn't seem to be on the same page. And then, of course, Thune says no need to negotiate, and Johnson says everybody go home. You know, we've sent y'all home September 19th, never to come back, nothing to negotiate. And now they're saying in the public sphere, of course, oh, well, we want to talk to Democrats. But Jeffries said that no one has said come back to the table. And he would tell us we are in negotiations, early stages. This is what we're hearing. This is what we're going to do. But Leader Jeffries didn't say any of that, because Johnson is not interested in reopening the government. He has no authority because Donald Trump hasn't told him to do so, and he doesn't know how to negotiate.
So we're now watching for warning signs that they understand just how bad this is for them, they being Republicans politically. And one sign, Simone pointed this out, you had Lisa Murkowski expressing some angst. Let's take a listen.
Yes, there is a lack of trust right now, and this is part of the problem. We want to try to move appropriations bills through, right? But if you're a Democrat, you're looking at it and you're saying, why am I going to try to be helpful if Mr. Vote at OMB is just going to do a backdoor move and rescind what we've been working on? So yeah, there's a lack of trust. Does it make it harder to come to terms on hard things like a government shutdown? Absolutely.
Okay, so that's not a critique of Democrats. That's a critique of Russell Vogt.
Oh, absolutely. And we have said we don't trust these fools when they say they want to negotiate with us, because they also say they're going to do whatever they want to do. And oftentimes what they're doing is illegal. They've said, well, open the government first and then we'll negotiate. And then Thune has said, but we even don't know if we have the votes. And then Johnson has said there's nothing more to negotiate. And what I've said is you're a poor negotiator, because you should be thinking about the kind of bill that you can pass through the House that will also make it through the Senate. I think these people know how to count to 60.
I mean, I think you may be giving everybody a little too much credit, because the voters that you were talking about and the districts you're talking about, they're theirs. There was research from Kaiser Family Foundation. More than 3 in 4 ACA marketplace enrollees live in states won by President Trump in 2024. So Speaker Johnson can be sending his folks home to their districts, What are they doing? They're hearing about how they don't want their premiums to go up, and they're hearing about the Epstein files.
And you know what else they're doing? They're getting letters in the mail saying that their health care premiums are going to at least double, and in some instances go as high as 170%. And then, to your point, Adelita Grajova was in the meeting tonight, and Jeffrey said, well, they seem to be scared of you because they're willing to slowly give you the keys to an office, but not give you any staff, and certainly not swear you in because, of course, you're going to run on down to the well and be the 218th signature to release the Epstein files.
Free the Epstein 218.
Free the, as we're getting T-shirts for the chairman, and you'll be able to, you know, get them hot at this table. I feel like the Republicans have overplayed their hand here, and I've talked to a lot of Democrats on the Senate side and in the House side that say, yes, but that only because you all have put the pressure on is that the current situation at hand, because the Democrats have been aligned on that, you know, we're not just, you know, fighting about bureaucracy or, you know, just not giving votes because we're mad. We are fighting for people's health care, and that the health care argument has broken through. How long does this last? Because right now the troops still have not, they're not getting paid. Air traffic controllers are calling out sick of work. The lines at the airport are insane. Not to mention the food health inspectors that are not. Y'all remember the poopy lettuce from a couple years ago.
You've made it hard for me to eat salad.
I'm just saying, don't do it. Michael still grows his own. We need to go to his house. How long?
Well, Donald Trump is predicting that this will be the longest shutdown ever, and in fact, he's now tied with Ronald Reagan for having the most government shutdowns in history. So I don't know, he's trying to go to Disneyland, get his little photo, nasty photo on the cover of Time. We are willing to go as long as it takes to fight for health care, because, you know, I have a constituent who called me, disabled woman, looking for her Medicare benefits. She was on the verge of getting them, and then the Social Security office closed down. And not only did they close down so they couldn't help her, they also said that they didn't want her calling me, asking me in my office to advocate for her.
Can I just say, though, I think that that story is actually very important, because what we have consistently heard, and is government policy, right, is that entitlement programs like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, those payments, those checks, right, will still happen. People will still get those checks during the shutdown. And what I am hearing you say is at least one of your, and to be clear, this is not a unique story, but what I'm hearing you say is that is actually not the case. And so another layer of this is what people believe to be true that would happen, at least from the government while this shutdown was happening. Even the guarantees that they had are not actual guarantees anymore.
Well, absolutely. So if you have no problems, then you will get the Social Security check. But if there's a mix-up someplace, if you have to file another form, if you need some additional assistance, that's where the trouble lies. And the Social Security office is saying, don't talk to your congressperson, and I can't help you. We have 32,000 women and young babies in my district who are in peril of losing their WIC and SNAP assistance because of this rogue president. And only because Democrats have sounded the alarm about WIC and SNAP and health care and ACA and the troops getting paid is this man saying, well, I'm going to try and use the tariffs, which, by the way, are illegal, okay, and you're paying for. I'm going to use that money, you know, to help make sure that we don't have a lapse in making sure that funding for WIC and SNAP continue. So it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, but Paul's broke too, and everybody's in the same family, and it's illegal. And here we are.
Well, and not to mention, because as we leave, you've got Speaker Johnson saying, well, I haven't had a chance to look into this whole thing about the details of the Trump administration layoffs. So maybe the Speaker needs to do that too. So
Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove, not Peter nor Paul, but the Congresswoman that came with the receipts. Thank you very much.